Good afternoon, people. It's Jazz, Frankie, Matt. It's the West Ham Minds channel, and we're doing a special following the breaking news probably about an hour ago. David Gold, our second, third highest sort of shareholder, joint owner for many, many years. Yeah, David Gold at the age of 83, 84 has passed away, gentlemen. So before we get into the chat, first of all, welcome, Frankie. How you doing, mate?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Feeling a bit better? Feeling good?
No, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm
You
surviving.
look good. You look good. You look good.
Well, that's a positive, mate. That's a
Yeah, you're
I'll
glowing,
take
mate.
that. I'll take
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You are.
Good
Matt,
lighting, that is. Good lighting, mate.
Matt, how you doing? You all right? Matt's press on it. He sorted his sound out. Now his picture's gone. But there we go. That is what it is. Yeah, about an hour ago. Different. I mean, BBC are saying he died at the age of 86. Then I'm hitting 84. I don't know.
Yeah, 86 I saw as well, mate.
So what was that? I even put that up, didn't I? 1936, didn't I?
I'm not sure, mate. Not
Yeah,
sure. It was a
86.
good innings. A lot of people are saying how surprising it was, mate, at that age. You never know what's round the corner. And he had a proper good innings, mate, didn't he? And, achieved a lot and lived a very, very good, flourishable life. So, it's obviously very, very sad. But in the same token, mate, I think he had a good one, didn't he?
Yeah, obviously, believe he had some kind of heart surgery a couple of years ago. But at that age, you're going to expect something like that. And then, yeah, but the last 2 years, he didn't look quite well. But yeah, 86, you're going to get all kinds of issues, aren't you? Mobility, whatnot, and all that other things. Yeah.
He obviously started to let some of his shares go, and that's where some were freed up for Kretinsky to take more shareholding in the club. So I think it just goes to show you, mate, that I think he knew his days were numbered a little bit, and he needed to start winding things down. And while he probably thought he had a bit more time in him, mate, it's I think that probably shows why he was sort of a little bit more less seen and not as visible as maybe he used to be. And so it just shows you, mate, that you never really know what's going on behind closed doors, mate, because I probably feel like he knew he wasn't in the best of health, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate this is, but I believe that David Sullivan shareholding is 38.8%. Kretinsky's 27%. David Gold, 25.1%. Albert Tripsmith, 8%. Other investors, 1.1%. Of those, I think Karen Brady's one of them. What usually happens is, if you remember David Gold about a year ago or just above, was busy sort of rewriting his will, instructing who his power of attorney should be, certainly passing a lot of the stuff over to his family. I do know about 2 daughters. I don't know if he's got any other children. So those shares will automatically, according to the will, I don't know, go according to his wife or his 2 daughters. Then it's up to them what they want to do. Do they want to carry on or sell their shares on to the other shareholders? It's up to them. I know they're busy with Ann Summers and other businesses. I think he's given 2 large businesses to each daughter to control, and they've largely kept out of football for now. So it's up to them what they want to do. And that links into, obviously, rumours building up that once that clause expires in March, April 2023, they want to sell it to someone else. And that Kretinsky isn't interested in taking ownership. He just wants a profit on what he put in, and he's focused on other things as part of his portfolio, but that's just rumours. So that's kind of what I know so far. And in terms of where that leaves West Ham now and David Moyes, Gold did say before that sometimes he hasn't agreed with what's happened in the past, like Pellegrini coming in when Moyes should have stood, but I don't think Gold really had as much say as Sullivan, so I don't think anything changes on that front. All it means is just, whoever's going to take over his votes and shares, that'll be done in the coming weeks, I think, and days. And business as normal, as they say, sadly, really. The other thing I was going to go into, but I'll do that a bit later on. But we'll go into a bit more. But obviously, he is known for tweeting in the past and some things incorrectly. And I know it's a sad occasion for the family, but as in the British spirit, especially funerals, we do like to have a few tongue-in-cheek things to say with respect, obviously. So you two will remember, I think it was a tweet about, it was either Ogbonna and he put Obiang's photo on, or the other way around, didn't he?
Yeah,
Just,
that's right, mate.
just kind of fondly remembering it. It's not taking a mick out of him or anything. I think we remember that. And then obviously Carlton Cole, was it the fake account Twitter? What does he call himself, Frankie?
Yeah, I know what you mean, mate.
Time to bed. Yeah, he's kind of said time to go to bed. Some people have taken it in a good way, some haven't. So those two things are kind of doing the rounds at the moment. Matt, any memories from Gold? He certainly was very respectful to fans, met them, wished them the world. He'd retweeted a lot of things. I think one of mine he replied to many years ago. It was just me making sure that Sullivan was okay when some fans went up to him in the car park after the West Brom Cup game, and I just said, "Hope he's all right." And he said, "Yeah, thanks for asking. I'll pass on the regards." And I think he's just a respectable guy. I don't think he really did anything to upset anyone, did he? I don't think so.
No, I only met him once.
Oh,
again,
right.
Just to say hi. Nothing more
Yeah.
sinister than that. And he looked very frail. It must have been in what, 2012, 2013. Don't
Yeah.
remember. It was a long time ago. And very seemed like a nice. Obviously, a West Ham fan. That was undeniable, despite what other people might say. You know, and
It's breaking
just
up a bit.
a bit of shit
You're
news.
back
Really.
now. Yeah. So I think he sold his Birmingham City shares, Frankie,
Oh.
2009, and West Ham 2010. Was also in the news, mate. In May 2005, he bought the FA Cup for an auction for nearly £500,000. To prevent it being, I don't know if he sold it on, Frankie. I don't know if you've heard anything. I think he sold it on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not 100% sure on that myself, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, so 2010 he came into our club, and then it was a 50% share. Then he's been changing, and there's news that his Rolls-Royce Phantom car was attacked by Villa fans outside a pub near Villa Park in August 2010. Car sustained 10 grand worth of damage. Very frightened. And then he oh god, some all kinds of things on Wikipedia, but yeah, he's got 2 children, Jacqueline and Vanessa, managing director, CEOs of Knickerbox Limited and Summers. According to the Rich List 2020, mate, his family are worth 416 million. So any comments from you regarding his ownership? I mean, West Ham fan. I've seen the houses opposite the old gates, aren't they, mate, where he lived?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he used to use that line a lot with, being born on and living on Green Street in abject poverty, I believe it was, which Canning Town Len used to love using in his clips and in his little skits that he does. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, mate, he's certainly the one that I guess had less a grievance with. I do feel like Gold was probably, had the best interests of West Ham at heart. He seemed to take anything negatively quite personally, I would say. I think he seemed like he genuinely cared. Obviously, we had that little moment when West Ham fans approached him in a car park after a game, and he looked quite worried and concerned. And I don't think we were necessarily being too aggressive towards him in that instance, but it's still not nice to see. And he was the one who never hid, I believe. I always felt like he wasn't the man who was ever running away or hiding from anything. When you go to the games, he always used to be visible. If you ever went in the hospitality areas, he used to be walking around quite a lot. Certainly mingled, I think, with fans far more than any of the other owners that we have. And I think that was proven every year. He used to open his home, and he used to have an open day where he'd put on entertainment, music, and have things going on in the grounds of his stately home there. So that was, a very nice thing to do. So yeah, I think all in all, in terms of his character and everything, for what everybody's saying, sort of negativity towards him and saying that he's been part of what's been destroyed at West Ham is probably a bit harsh. And it's difficult, mate, because what I've told you in recent times, I don't want to sit here and be this hypocrite like you find with people at times on social media, and they say one thing but act another when it's I have called for GSB out many times. I did want them removed from the club. The only one thing I felt David Gold, in my eyes, could have done a bit better was when we sold off all of our museum contents. I feel like that he should have stepped in at that moment in time and said, look, because he used to own some incredible artifacts. He used to own like a version of the FA Cup, which he auctioned off in the end. He used to have some amazing things. And I just wish he would have pushed back on that at times and said, no, I know we don't own the stadium. And yes, it might be difficult to have a museum per se at the new ground, but they are the belongings of West Ham United, and we're selling off everything else. Why do we want to auction off all of our history and the things that should belong to West Ham and should have pride of place in a museum at West Ham, mate? So we don't have much to display in it, but there were still things that we've got a lot of history, and while there won't be many trophies, I do think we've got a very colourful history, and I kind of wish we would have held on to the contents a little bit more. So while I don't think he could have affected, and he didn't have much say on the day-to-day runnings of the club, I don't think he had much say in transfers or things that were going on. Little things like that, I feel like he could have maybe pushed back a little bit more on and said, look, no, from a West Ham fan's perspective, I feel like we should retain our identity and keep what's really important, a part of our history. So that was the only little gripe I would have. But in saying that, mate, overall, in these times, what you do is you show respects like West Ham United always do. I think we always show pure class as West Ham fans. I think we get a bad rap at times. But in times like this, we always have, real class as a fan base. And I've seen some people already coming out and saying, oh, isn't it awful what some of these people are already saying and this and that. Look, they're troll accounts. That's what they are. They're not West Ham United fans. They're not even close to being a West Ham United fan. They don't have their picture in their image. They're followed by about 2 followers. These accounts are set up to cause trouble, to get a reaction, and to be trolls. That's what they are. So I hate it when we get a bad rap for when people turn around and go, oh, the West Ham fans did this. No, we didn't. A troll account did that. West Ham fans did not do that. What you will hear from the fan base tonight at Ellen Road will be pure and utter respect towards David Gold. What you'll see at the next home game is pure and utter respect to David Gold. The minute's silence or the minute's applause will be immaculate. West Ham United turned off the comments for the tweet. Yes, I understand it, because there might be some troll accounts that would, put some silly comments. But I don't think any genuine, proper West Ham fan would have any or would behave any wrong way or have anything, bad in these times to say about David Gold, regardless of everything that we've been through, and regardless of what the owners have done to West Ham United in some people's eyes, mate. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that point across, mate, because I think sometimes in recent times we've been dug out for things I don't think true reactions of West Ham United fans. I just think they're troll Twitter accounts, mate. So,
no, well said. Yeah, that's all true of the modern times we live in, really. Another thing I was thinking of, their wealth wasn't enough in the modern times of Premier League ownerships. I think they're one of the poorest, so we were never going to go anywhere with them. I don't agree with joint ownership either. They don't have enough wealth individually, and even when you put them together, it's not really touching any of the top clubs. 60s, 70s, 80s, yeah, they would have got somewhere as owners, but I think that was another thing. And yeah, there's rumours out there that Sullivan has told some very close people that, thinking that it's coming to an end at West Ham, that this was always a property deal for him, and yeah, he's going to make 500-600% from it, along with Gold's family. So that's the other thing for me. Matt, do you want to anything coming to your mind while Frankie and me are talking about Gold?
Yeah, I mean, of course, condolences to his family, to everyone that loved him, you know, close to him. It's a sad situation. Of course, 86 is not any bad age to get to. I wouldn't mind getting to 86. And like you said, in that enviable position of not only playing for West Ham, but also owning the club. I think that's all of our dreams, to be honest. So, no, I think you guys mentioned most of the clear points. Obviously, he was a silent partner, not involved in the day-to-day, and probably not too much of the big picture stuff either. Just kept around. Obviously, his wealth in the time that David Sullivan's been at the club, we've seen a massive explosion in his net worth. Well, what's being reported now is his net worth. You know, up to, I think it's well over £1 billion now. 1.2, I think there was the last one I saw. And David Gold has stayed fairly static around the 400, maybe 500 mark. No, so definitely, I'm sure Sullivan, not only for his wealth but because of his personality, was the dominating David at the club. But he did give us some good moments, and it was obvious that he did love the club. It was obvious that it was a passion of his, and I do agree with you, Jazz. It will be interesting now to see what goes on with his percentage of the club, which has decreased over the last few years. Will he sell it, or will it be sold? Sorry, you know, will it be sold by family members? Will they stay on as silent partners? Which obviously we don't know how much of his own capital he's invested over the years. That's always been the one thing that I would have loved to have found out about the club. You know, what capital for player investment, etc., has come out of David Gold's pocket, what's come out of David Sullivan's pockets, you know, and because, like you say, Jazz, having this dual ownership situation is very uncomfortable. Don't think it's particularly beneficial, and it looks like you said, the Kretinsky share purchase is not going to be the saving grace that we look for. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but I remember at the start of December that they were actually saying that Kretinsky was looking to buy David Gold shares at some point. So I mean, I don't know if that's going to keep going ahead.
I've heard that he's busy doing other things, so we're a very small part of his portfolio. But what this will surely do is welcome Alex in the chat. It's the same situation, Alex. David Gold's shares go to his daughters, but what's good for me is that important decisions will have to be made now in the coming months. Do his daughters want to stay there and keep the shares and take an active part in West Ham, or do they want to put them up for sale, which will, interestingly, I don't know if it'll end up being an auction or a fight between Kretinsky and Sullivan, or does Sullivan have the first yes or no to them? I don't know, but at least it's some interesting questions will have to be answered. And
I believe they said that before, mate. I think his daughters came out and said that they didn't have any interest in an active role at West Ham United. I think, you know, but will they see it as holding on to the shares when the club gets sold, as you will get more than trying to sell them on a pre-agreement now, which they would. So it all depends on whether they look at it from a money perspective of, you know, do I want to keep my investment and maximize it and get the most for it when the club's sold, or do they want to liquidate it now? I think it really puts this whole situation into, and please don't think for 1 second that I'm trying to move on from what's actually happened to David Gold today. We're literally just talking West Ham United here, but it really does change the dynamic of everything completely. And, you know, where does it leave us? We're now going to see, from a West Ham United perspective, what our future holds. Because if the Americans decide that they want it, then that really changes the angle of what people thought Kretinsky was going to be, the man who was interested in buying. Kretinsky apparently isn't that interested in any more shareholding. Well, if that's the case, then, you know, that tells you that he doesn't want it. if Sullivan doesn't want it, then it tells you that Sullivan is on the way out. So actually, it's going to really open up the landscape to telling us what the future holds for West Ham. It's going to be a very, very interesting time to see what happens with those shares, mate.
Bob's happy to see you back, Matt, on the chat. Your earphones are still the same though. The grunting pig noise.
Let me take them off.
Yeah. Surely Gold's shares won't be freed until they're just transferred over to his next of kin, mate, and then business as usual. I just think they didn't have enough money, and they made a profit out of it. I mean, if they sell it in, I don't know, May time, we're going to be in the bottom half, probably not won anything. So I don't know, all the time they've done, well, financially we were always quite stable, I suppose. I don't know, mate. It's footballers, we've moved from Upton Park, and I don't know, not much of a legacy for them, really.
No, I think, well, I don't know. I think Gold almost had his, I don't know, I guess he's proof of success in that he would have made serious money out of his investment. But again, that's where you sort of see the sad side of it, really. Or do you? You know, maybe David Gold saw the last couple of seasons as being what he wanted to achieve. You know, he promised us European football. He provided us with European football. I'm glad he got to see that at West Ham. You know, glad that he got to see some really big nights over there with a Seville night and so on. So maybe that was enough for him to sit there and think he achieved, you know, enough at West Ham to make his time, you know, worthwhile. He might see it a little bit different to us, mate, as an owner sitting there. Maybe that was the best we could have expected in his mind. I don't know. So,
obviously they weren't that rich that they could put amount of money that Abramovich could afford to lose and that kind of thing. So they were very careful with it. Alex, I remember that story. FA Cup given to the FA for the museum. Yeah, I think he sold it or gave it or profit on it. I don't know. Something like that, mate. So I think we're all respectable in the chat, you know. It's
I think, you know, that at that time, I think frustrations were high. You know, I think they went round to the away end, and you know, I think in the clip you can see that they were just asking for answers. They just wanted answers from him, really, and I think that's the problem, mate. I think when you have the relationship that he did with the fans and the rest of the owners did with the fans, when you struggle to communicate, like we get no communication from our owners, do we? They don't want to communicate anything because we're so divided and we have such a poor relationship so when you don't communicate things, it becomes difficult. The fans want answers. I don't think there was any malice. I don't think they wanted to cause him any harm. It looked ugly from the pictures that you saw in that video, but I think, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I think there's a lot more pictures I'm seeing on Twitter of fans arms in arm with him and showing nothing but respect. So yeah, I think that, you know, I think it'd be sad to grasp onto that one moment and sort of push that, if you like. I think, you know, there was more to it than just that moment that he had, to be honest.
And Chris, that's a good thing though, but the club have just got to do on the field what they need to do. I don't like statements like
it doesn't
do it for David.
Come into it.
No, exactly.
If you think that, you know, I find that disrespectful that the players are going to play well just because he's died. That to me, I don't find that the right narrative. I find that quite strange, actually. What they're just going to come out and play one game and give more heart for 90 minutes, and that's enough. For me, that's a bit muggy, mate. I don't really understand that.
Yeah, Ginger, how you doing, mate? From all the way from Lanzarote, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad.
What is that you're wearing, son?
What, these?
No, down below. Look like you had some sort of what? Look at that vest.
Oh,
have a look at that.
Oh, mate, I thought it was something else there.
It's me palm trees, you know. Got to fit in with the locals.
Camouflage.
This is my my staying in my room attire.
Loungewear.
Yeah, I wouldn't go out like this.
So you found the West Ham Lanzarote down there, have you, in the bar or somewhere?
Yeah, so we're going there tonight. There's a bar that's run by a big West Ham woman. She's absolutely crazy by the sounds of it, and that's the home of the Lanzarote Hammers.
We're everywhere, aren't we?
That's it. Yeah, I've heard of the Lanzarote Hammers, but I forgot all about it when I knew I was coming out here. And then I spoke to a Manc West Ham fan last night at the pool, and he told me all about it. So I'm going to go down there for the game tonight. And where she tells you to sit, that is where you sit, apparently, because they have their regulars.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I remember I went to the Tenerife Hammers, mate, when I was there. But what comes to your mind when you think of Mr. Gold and Ginge? What do you think?
Quite sad, to be fair.
Yeah.
He's a human being at the end of the day, regardless of what he's done to our football club. He's a human first and foremost, and you don't wish that upon anyone. I know there's been a lot of people in the past that have wished that, but I just think that's bang out of order because he's a human, and it's sad. I mean, I got a phone call while I was sitting at the pool from my mate back in England, and they said, "Have you seen the news?" And I said, "No," and then they told me, and I just remember feeling great sadness.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's a gentleman and always had time to speak to the fans. Looks like Bob, one of my friends, said he met him. He said he's sticking with Zola and he's sacked fairly afterwards. They just sacked him. Apparently, yeah. I mean, that's another example of Gold. Gold probably didn't agree with a lot of the Sullivan decisions, but he went with Sullivan, So I don't know. I don't think Sullivan had enough money on his own to buy West Ham, so Gold came along for the ride, and Gold does have proof of links to West Ham. Yeah, he's born opposite the ground. He played in the youth team, that kind of thing, I think, when he was young. Whereas Sullivan, more or less what you guys kind of knew, he's got links to Cardiff, isn't he? He wants to buy Cardiff, I think. I'm not too sure.
I didn't know he was born in Penarth. I didn't realise that was where he was from. So I don't know, mate. I don't know how much I believe that he would at this stage in his life want to go and own Cardiff City. That would be a strange old thing to do in my eyes, but who knows?
I'm not sure how the debt, Chris. Obviously, if we got sold and the money that the new owners would pump into West Ham, it could affect their pockets. The more they have to pay for the club and the debt and everything. So, yeah.
Well, the point is, mate, you say there's no debt. There is, because at the end of the day, that debt has still got to be repaid. But it might have to be repaid sooner than we would have imagined. That might have to be paid out now. So, you don't know what agreement was in place. So,
well, another thing is, as he passed all of his deeds, did he have a will to pass all of his side over to someone?
That would have definitely been done, wouldn't it? It's that would have 100% have been in place. So again, it's all going to be interesting to see what unravels and what this becomes from West Ham United. But that is for another day, isn't it? At the end of the day, the poor man is only, it's only just happened. And what's most important for us tonight is showing respects tonight, showing respects at the Brentford game as well. And the man needs a good send off, don't he? So.
That's it, mate. Smeagol confirming what I thought, that when he did come on TV, it didn't look good. He didn't look good, mate. Yeah. Looked bad. Irish Tommy, how you doing, mate? Jump on, you lazy git. God. Tommy's been losing it recently as well on Twitter. I've been reading your Twitters, mate. I agree with you all the time, though. You're right. Hope you're doing, Martin Allen. Hope you're doing all right, mate. That's what I've heard he wants to buy. One of those again. I have another dream. I have to buy Cardiff before anything happens and all that kind of thing. So there we go. Rest in peace. Yeah, before he went off, Ginger, basically his shares, I think they go over to his two daughters, mate. So business as normal. It's up to the daughters to carry on or sell his shares to the other shareholders or anyone else, mate. So, but as far as we know, they're not interested in carrying on. They don't want to, have the shares.
I didn't think so.
No.
Yeah, that's what I didn't think they would be interested. So it'd be interesting to see how they go about the business now. Whether they give it to Sullivan, whether they give it a split to Krasinski and Sullivan and sell bits of, or sell it off to someone else completely different.
Yeah, Kretinsky, mixed news again. Not sure if he wants to go ahead and be the number one now. Just wants a profit on his. I don't know. And these American guys, I haven't looked into it. I don't know what's going on. It's so many stories out there. Fulham fan Wayne, thank you, mate.
Fair play.
Yeah, short illness, and apparently had COVID 3 times.
Well, I know I caught the back end of what you were saying about how Frankie was saying it. This shouldn't G up the players to perform well tonight and go and win the game. But that was my initial thought as well. Are they going to go out there because of this news and go and win for gold for the club, for everyone involved? But I'm with Frankie on that one. They shouldn't need something like this to kick them up the arse to go and make a performance and to get a result. But that was my first initial thought. Are they now gonna get a result tonight because of that?
Yeah, I don't want to mix David and football too much together. Jonathan, I believe the game is still on. I think you normally would, mate. Yeah, I think it's still on. But obviously, yeah, Pele's funeral is coming to an end today or yesterday. I think that's all going on as well. Yeah, there's Tommy. They've had flack all the time. Don't want to go into why, but yeah, they've had flack since day one. And actually, I didn't have any flack while Upton Park did they? Do you remember? Did they have flack? Can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was a bit mixed, weren't it? Yeah, it was. There's a lot of things that went on at that time, mate. But again, I remember that time as we never had good times really at Upton Park, mate. We seemed like we was cursed there. Every time we ever got to a big game, we always lost it in recent times. So, I think when Gold had this vision of leaving Upton Park and going to the Olympic Stadium, the point was when they were selling it to us, they were saying that we'd be close to the pitch, we wouldn't be further away than any other seats. It would, and the pictures. Go and look at the pictures now. The pictures are totally different to what the reality is. I actually think in David Gold's mind, he believed we were getting what his vision was, which was an adjusted stadium, which would have been more suitable for football, that was properly put together. And I thought that I believed that he genuinely felt like that's what we were going to achieve by going there. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, and we've got what we've got. But, I'd like to think he wasn't pulling the wool over our eyes and selling us a dream and a story that he knew was never going to be reality. But the way he spoke, I believe he felt like it was the right move for West Ham at the time.
I think it's a case of Brady and Sullivan pulling something over him, getting him stitched up, and he didn't like Brady anyway. I think not as much as Sullivan did. So that was that, and then
it's like a third wheel just coming in to break up your friendship or a relationship, isn't it? Because Gold and Sullivan have been friends for donkey's years. I mean, they've been in numerous bits of business together. And then
let's not forget, mate, Brady was really the driving power to get the London Stadium. She was the one who was the Baroness. She had the connections to the government. She had the connections to Boris Johnson. She was the driver to make the stadium what it is. If anyone has the finger pointed at them for the failure of what it's been in terms of a transition to the London Stadium moment, it's firmly pointed at her, mate. So
yeah, and Martin Allen likes what you said there. Ginger said spot on.
That's not the Martin Allen, is it?
Of course, the channel's followed by all the great people, mate. Of course. That's kind of on that.
But there's another one today, mate, which is I just wanted to put in there because poor little Arthur Hughes, who was obviously killed by his parents, the young Birmingham lad, he would have been 9 today, so it would have been his birthday. So, you put things into perspective. That young boy who, used to scream out that nobody loves him and never had a life and wasn't able to lead a proper life versus a man lived a life of flourishing luxury and lived, the best life that he could ever have imagined. It just also puts things in perspective, mate. So Birmingham have sent out 2 very nice condolences messages, one for Arthur Hughes and one for David Gold. But you know, it is sad news, and it is sad news, but he got to do everything that he wanted to do. And that little boy didn't get to do anything, mate. So, you know, we just need to keep that in mind as well.
Right, I'm just sending the link to Tommy. I was going to say,
that's a good comment that's just come in from Alex Chapman. Apparently, Gold, ironically, didn't want to move initially. And there's a YouTube video of Match of the Day where it did a day in the life of Gold against Fulham at home under Avram Grant. And apparently, he didn't want to move.
They would have still made a profit. I mean, like you said, if the East Stand, and to be fair, East Stand was a bit of an eyesore at the end. It needed to be knocked down and cover the corners, match it to the West Stand, which was one of the single biggest stands in the UK. And apparently, the boxes that had the West Stand was one of the biggest in the UK. So if you match that on the other side, that would have been something.
Yeah.
And still very, very close to the pitch as usual. And then they still had the land where the school was to do even more things, make the shop bigger, all that kind of thing. And you can always invest in Upton Park Tube Station. You can always make it bigger, the entrance exit. You can always do stuff. I've seen some of the old Crossrail stations that have been upgraded to make the platforms bigger for the new trains. You can always do that. And you can always invest in the high street or the shops leading up to the ground. I mean, Liverpool, they buy rows and rows of houses. I know it's a different price. You know, to
it was
London.
nonsense, mate. They could have done what they wanted to there. In the end, it was just we have to make every excuse under the sun because nobody initially wanted to move, and I think they felt a real backlash from the fans. I think they thought we would all jump at it when they didn't really get that response because we all wanted to stay where we were. They needed to start a narrative of we won't progress, we can't do anything here, we are stuck here, we won't be able to move on as a football club, we can't increase the stadium, even though we've seen that there was planning for the other side. You know, it was the bus thing you couldn't knock down, then it was the school, and it was this and it was that, and it was all just nonsense, mate, at the end of the day. But they had to do it to win over everybody because they had to come up with all the different excuses. So yeah, it was what it was. But like I say, when Gold spoke about the move in the end, I think you saw real, true belief that it was the right move for West Ham. I think he really looked like I think he was excited by the vision of it all, mate. I really do. But yeah, just a shame how it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. Tommy, how you doing? You all right, mate?
Good, yeah, thanks. I swear I only just heard the news because I've been out and about today and I haven't really been on my phone. And it was just a little while ago that I just popped into Twitter and the first thing I saw was that David Gold had passed. So, yeah, I didn't even know he was ill, to be honest with you.
But remember the photos of him didn't look too good. It wasn't in front of the camera recently. And apparently, died peacefully, but been unwell for quite a while, really. So the shares, Tommy, go straight away to his daughters, mate. And it's up to them if they want to carry on in that role or flog them to the other two. And see how it goes, really. But I don't think it'll make much difference in terms of what's happening tonight. That game goes ahead, very important as well. I don't know if it's going to be some kind of record, Tommy, if we lose 6 in a row in the league, or I think we've lost 6 in a row, including if you include the Blackburn Cup game. But I don't know if it could be even more than that tonight. I don't know. But that's maybe for the show later on. We'll do straight after the game. But for now, it looks like he was more genuine than Brady or Sullivan, and Brady and Sullivan seemed to have brainwashed him into the move. They were much more in for it because he had a link to West Ham Gold. He can't knock that. The other two didn't. They were in it. I mean, the latest what we're finding out from the accounts is that Brady got another £1 million bonus for bringing in Kretensky. Apparently, she gets a 1 million finder's fee for that, and then she got more money for the ground and other things. But where she hasn't really earned money, I feel, is in terms of the corporate area, the money coming in, the boxes going to the big companies, the big shirt sponsors, the ground sponsors. I don't know, none of that's really happened. So, I mean, for me, I think a lot of people met Gold and he's very respectable, had time. So it is what it is, mate, really. I don't know if you want to fill in any more on how you feel about Gold and how you think. The good thing could be that things will get moving, really. So the daughters will either stay or sell their shares quickly. And that'll give us an idea of what Sullivan wants to do and Kretensky. And all these rumours about a sale to American guys in the middle of this year. So lots of things up in the air, Tommy, around our club at the moment, off the ground, in the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, first and foremost, condolences to David Gould's family. You know, I suppose of the three, I mean, he was a West Ham fan. You know, he did grow up a West Ham fan, as you say. He played youth level for the club, so I do think that he actually did have love for West Ham and was invested emotionally in the club. Whereas Sullivan, you know, is a Cardiff City fan, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think his intentions with West Ham, along with Karen Brady, I think have been entirely parasitic. I think they just see it as a way that they can really cash in when they sell the club down the line. That's why they were so eager to push for the move away from the Boleyn. I mean, they sold it to us hard. You know, they really sold it hard to us fans, and they, all three, it has to be said, spoke a lot of bollocks, you know, before the move, to try and get the fans on side. And unfortunately, I think, you know, that is the legacy that they'll all have to share, I'm afraid. But look, it's not personal, obviously, with David Gold, because I think really David Gold was almost the silent partner, wasn't he? I think he was just kind of along for the ride, really. I think we all knew the show was being run by Sullivan and Brady, really. And I think that's really where most of my ire has always been, anyway. My kind of, the people I despise are Sullivan and Brady. I never really despised David Gold. You know, I thought he was a bit more genuine, but yeah, I mean, what they'll do now, I don't know. Obviously, the Jacqueline, and I can't remember the name of the other sister, but I suppose they've got some options now. They could just sell the shares straight away for whatever the market value is. Another option, I suppose, for them would be to hang tough and wait and see who buys the club. And if that person really moves the club on, you know, for example, if it was the Qatari government, essentially, the Qatari state that buys us, we could end up like another Newcastle. We could end up, you know, being a more valuable club, and they could sell their shares at a higher value down the line. It's not the side of the club that I've looked into in any great depth, if I'm honest. You know, the kind of financial side of the club, but I expect now that the club will be sold soon. I think we're all kind of expecting that. As soon as they don't have to pay that penalty, I think it's sometime in April, isn't it? When
that clause finishes then. The other daughter is Vanessa, and like you said, they're both managing director CEOs of Ann Summers and Knickerbox Limited, so they're not really interested in West Ham, and they'll quickly move those shares on to whoever, you know, wants to do that. And like you said, Sullivan didn't quite have enough money on his own to buy the club, so he used some of the gold cash. Brady was there just to get as many millions as she could in terms of bonuses and salary out the club. We were hoping that she was going to go on to Birmingham, but that didn't quite sort of happen a few months ago, so she stayed with us. And as part of the sale, they've given her 0.5%. I think she owns 0.5% of the club, which doesn't sound a lot, but it's a nice little amount. And I'm sure she'll get another bonus when the sale completes, if we get to that stage, really.
Yeah, she's living off ridiculous bonuses. I mean, she gets millions and millions in bonuses every year for hitting certain targets. I mean, she would have gotten a very nice payout for making this move happen, because she was kind of the public face of the move. You know, whenever there was a pitch being made to fans, it was almost entirely Karen Brady who was there selling it. You know, world-class team and a world-class stadium. Remember that?
Yeah. She was also instrumental in organising the way the stadium was when we arrived there. So I think a lot of the failings in the contract agreement and the fact that we don't have certain rights to do what we want to do as a football club, I think that's where the finger should be pointed. I don't think she has had enough stick, really, sometimes, for some of the failings that we've had at the London Stand. I think people call it GSB, but I think Karen Brady was instrumental to why we've ended up in such a mess at that ground, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, the last few months she has actually seemed to keep her mouth shut, which he was never able to do previously. I think someone put a leash on her, a muzzle on her at some point, because, you know, she was writing an article in the paper. I mean, she was saying things about other clubs that was pissing them off, and that was going to affect her ability to do business, you know, transfer business with other clubs. You know, to be, you know, in her position at West Ham, slagging off, you know, chairman of other clubs and all this. I mean, it was a joke. It was crazy behaviour, and you know, it was an embarrassment. But you know, the last kind of couple of years, I think she has learned, I think, just to keep her mouth shut, and so she's kind of stepped back into the shadows a little bit more. She's still there doing her thing, but she's a lot less public, and so you don't really hear much about Karen Brady like anymore, like you used to.
Don't be surprised if she, once the club is sold, that she'll jump into somewhere like Tottenham and work for them or anyone like that. That's what kind of thing she'll do. 2 up, 2 down, that comment. Yeah, because me and Ginge and Steve, we did that documentary in Upton Park, and those flats way above the old East Stand and West Stand, mate.
Yeah.
And that was just embarrassing how that lie was. So much room behind that stand, wasn't it, Ginger, when we went and see that? Could have easily accommodated that there, really. So,
well, you had half of Priory Road as well. Apparently, we owned, and then them flats that we looked at, we both looked up and we was like, that was well bigger than the West Stand roof. So how they said they couldn't even match the West Stand, let alone go beyond it, it is
nonsense, mate, is what it was.
Yeah. I mean, me and you looked up, Jazz, didn't we, from across the road, and we was just like that, thinking, "Wow, this is absolutely massive." And that was the realization for us that everything that they said was absolute bollocks.
Yeah,
and I feel like, you know, the thing is, it feels like a betrayal, because I did put a lot of trust in them, you know, because they sold us this dream. You know, they knew that we would be slow to leave Upton Park because of our love for that place. And so that, you know, they sold us this dream, and I'll be honest, you know, I bought into it, and I thought, you know what, if they can deliver on what they're saying, if we're going to get this amazing stadium, we're going to have like much better players, we're going to be challenging towards the top end of the table, you know, we might get Champions League football, all the things that we're kind of talking about. I thought, well, you know, maybe then that would make it worth it, you know, to see that happen. And you know, to be honest, I mean, we've done nothing at the London Stadium that we couldn't have done at Upton Park.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely right. And Alex, that's why I normally think when I watch The Apprentice, she has a go at all those other guys. She's not that good at a job herself. And Frankie probably remember when she came in, Frankie, she sacked a lot of the staff that had been at West Ham for many, many years. And then the players got together and said, we'll pay the salaries for some of these guys in the canteen or around the ground, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
But there was a massive lack of respect for anything that was historical at West Ham, mate. Whether it be the stalls outside the ground, whether it be the food personnel, any of them. It was
the garden as well. I mean, did you see the state of the garden?
Yeah, it was anything that was traditional and historical to West Ham, whether it had been the museum contents, like you say, whether it was the memorial ground, whether it be whatever it was all just torn up and just all forgotten, mate, which was, it stings still, mate. It really does.
It does. And even there's still a lot of things at the ground that needs fixing, but obviously we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, it is. What we'll do, we'll go around once and then we'll probably call it quits and then hopefully catch up after today's game. Matt, you want to have your final say on Mr. Gold and how that could affect the ownership and sale of the club, mate, in the coming months?
Yeah, I mean, one of those things that I don't think anyone expected it. Like they said, a short illness came out of the blue. The news coming out of Kretinsky is worrying, especially with how we want to push on, considering the situation that we're in on the pitch, which is the most important thing. Like the guys have been talking about, the most important thing is just respect right now for the situation, respect for the family, respect, and I agree with Frankie. Anyone that's, you know, there's a joke and you can have a little bit of banter about it, but anyone that's been rude about it, I mean, could be your granddad, could be, you know, anyone like that, and it's just not on. You know, I always feel like, you know, we've got to remember that Brady worked for Sullivan. Brady didn't work for Gold and Sullivan. Brady joined Sullivan at 19 years old and became a director on one of his companies at 20 years old. You know, so Brady worked for Sullivan. So I have no doubt that gold was minimized, used for his investment, used to share or minimize the risk, you know, because it's much easier when you say, hey, let's go along, mate, and putting a bit of your money alongside mine in case it goes tits up. Because both with the purchases of Birmingham that they bought for £1, you know, when they were in dire financial straits, I think it was like 92, 93, and West Ham, the situation we were in, they were both high-risk moves, but both have obviously worked out very well for them. So, I mean, David Gold, West Ham fan, rest in peace. And not that it should motivate the players because we're in a complete shit show, but it would be nice to get a result from today, you know, just out of respect. But if that's what it takes to motivate the players, we're in a worse situation than we thought, you know, because realistically, we need to get results, we need to get points on the board, and forget about what's going on with in terms of shares, in terms of who's going to take over, and just focus on the football.
Thank you, Matt. And Matt, I think your audio thing is fixed, mate. Absolutely brilliant. No issue with that. So yeah, we found the recipe. We found it. Ginge, you want to follow up with that on your final sort of on that, mate?
I mean, there's not much more to say that Matt's already said there, but just for everything that he has done, gold for the club. Thank you. I know obviously a lot of people are going to be like baffled by that, but he is a human being first and foremost. Like Matt said, that could be someone's granddad, someone's great granddad. I don't condone anyone being rude, nasty on social media, and that should stop by every fan. Anyone going to the game tonight, I don't want to be hearing any of that shit. I don't want to be seeing any of that shit on social media. Let's respect the guy and his family. It's far too soon. You shouldn't even do it at all, but it's far too soon to be doing anything, saying anything. And our condolences with his family. R.I.P. David Gold.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. Tommy?
Yeah, just to reiterate what the boys have said there, just condolences to their family. And look, obviously, this isn't the time for, you know, criticism or anything. There'll be plenty of time for that. There's been plenty of it already, and there'll be plenty more time down the line. I think right now, just let's show some respect because, you know, as the lads have said, you know, he's a human being, you know, has a family who obviously love him very much and who are grieving an awful lot right now. You know, just condolences to them. And well, we should, regardless of what we think, he was a chairman of West Ham. So, you know, we should show him that respect on a base level. So that's all I can really add to what the boys have said.
Yeah, before we move on to Frankie, if you do remember when they bought the club, there wasn't too many people who had the money around that time. It was shortly after the 08 crash, and we were financially up and down. And the other person that was close to buying or wanted to buy was that Fernandez guy that went to QPR. Tony, is it Tony Fernandez? The accountant that made his money in Malaysia. So I don't know where he's gone, but yeah, you can see what's happened to QPR and a bit of huge money mismanagement at QPR and the good old Larry, what they got up to there. So a couple of things to just balance off the view. But yeah, good comments from you lads. Frankie, final sort of comments from yourself, mate?
Yeah, just like I said before, mate, just remember that there are a lot of troll accounts out there. Don't tarnish West Ham fans with the brush of the troll accounts because, you know, they are there to get a reaction. And also in the same token, you know, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. If somebody is preferring to take the ground of, I don't want to be a hypocrite, so I don't want to be coming on here and giving all these condolences and everything else because I don't agree with how the man performed for West Ham, they're also entitled to their silence. And, you know, I just don't want to see us getting to a point where we're all bickering with each other. We've got enough worries at the moment at West Ham. This isn't a moment or something that we should be bickering about. I know the fans will be respectful for tonight. I know they'll be incredibly respectful next time we play a home game. And I know there'll be huge amounts of, you know, people just paying their respects to him. And I know that's how West Ham will be, and I know there won't be anybody, just going against that grain, because we are brilliant as a football club, West Ham. We've always been brilliant at showing respects. The minute silence will be immaculate. When we come to do that minute silence, mate, I promise you. And this is the thing as well, if they want to do a minute silence, do it. Don't think it has to be a minute of applause because you think there'll be some people shouting and hollering. I'm telling you now, there won't. People will pay absolute respect at West Ham to David Gold when that time comes. And I really, really do believe that. So yeah, we need to be respectful, mate. We need to all not bicker over this situation and let people deal with how they want to pay their respects in their own way, which I'm sure they will do. Obviously, David Gold's family, pay respects to them. Difficult times, as I said as well, little nod to Arthur Hughes, because that story ate me up for months, mate, when that happened. It was terrible, and that poor little boy wasn't given any life, and I find it so sad. So on his 9th birthday, I just want to tip my cap to him as well. And that's it, mate. Really, just on to tonight. It's so weird, isn't it, what you do as a football fan? You know, I'm looking forward to tonight, mate. It's a massive game. It's an important game. We must get a win. You know, I don't care what the excuse is. If they want to put it down to David Gold, if they want to put it down to David Moyes' improved tactics, continuing on from the Brentford game or whatever it is, but we need a win to get ourselves out of trouble. So, yeah, mate, I'm going to go and look forward to that now, and hopefully we can do the business.
Yeah, I agree with all your comments apart from the look forward. I don't look forward to any West Ham games anymore, mate. I just got to be honest. I don't, but I will be watching it. But nice words from all you.
But that's
lads.
what I mean, as in,
Yeah.
all right, I'm not thinking, oh my God, greatest West Ham. But what I mean is there's a lot riding on tonight. Do you know what I mean? So I'm ready for it. I want to get in front of it. I want to watch it. I want to, support the boys, albeit I'm not in Leeds, and maybe I should be. Maybe that's what I should be doing. But I've got responsibilities and I can't be there. But yeah, it's I want to watch it, and I want to cheer the boys on from home, mate, and I want to get behind them and see what we can do. It's that time, mate, of maybe this is, I'm not saying that this should benefit West Ham in any way, because it absolutely shouldn't, but maybe it'll be a wake-up call to a few people around that club, mate, at the moment who maybe take things for granted a little bit too much. So
definitely. So before we close off, Alex, listed buildings. Ginger, I can't remember seeing any listed buildings because they knocked bloody everything down, haven't they? In around it, apart from the sports clubs there, sports bars there. I don't know what listed buildings that are still up there.
Barking Road. There probably is.
School still there. The school still there. Kiddie school still there. And
isn't that school though on Green Street? That's not on Barking Road. That doesn't.
I can't, Alex. I can't think of any listed buildings that would have affected what's happened now and against what we would have done, mate. Building the ground. Yeah.
You've got the bowling tavern that's on the junction of Barking Road and Green Street. So anything that way, you've got the garages. I don't know if they end up going, but they wasn't listed. They
wouldn't have been touched anyway. They weren't not touched now. Don't know.
Are they still there? Are they?
Yeah. The garage. I think so. Yeah. Isn't that where that mural thing is? Isn't it on the brick wall? Is those garages or the other garages?
Around the corner from that.
Yeah.
Where I told you that Millwall smashed that window.
Yeah. That's still it was there. So that's fine. I think so. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Moisey not getting sacked today, mate. Thank you for that.
But I think Priory Road, that was more of a problem.
Nah, I think we could have wiggled our way out of it. The architects can always change the design of what we want to do. Lots of options out there. There's Matt confirming everything. God, it's getting mad in the chat, but we have to close off. Michael Table. Yeah, the horse owner, wasn't he? He used to provide loans, I think, for the club back in the day. Yeah, he was always linked.
Wasn't he? He was that racehorse owner, weren't he?
Yeah.
Not a very nice man.
There's another Irish guy linked with these owners. He injects 8-9% loans, I think. And then, if you remember the Russian who fell out of favour with Putin, they found him dead at his Surrey mansion. He was always linked with West Ham. He came out of Russia a lot of money on the level of Abramovich, but he fell out of favour with Putin. And there's always a danger of his life. And he was found, mysteriously died in a morning Surrey, I think 5-10 years ago. Oh, right. There you go. He's a huge money lender, Frankie. There we go. Yeah, Dell are the computer group who surprisingly are not listed anywhere. They're private. They went private because some
Yeah.
financial
Michael Table's worth a lot of money, mate, and he's big in horse racing, big in gambling, from the East End, and supposedly didn't make most of his money in a particularly fantastic way. So probably not the best person to get involved in the club. But then again, we've had guys like Terry Brown, so
he's got a seat there for life. He's an honourable.
yeah,
He's got a seat
and I
there.
think about 2 or 3% of the club still. They gave him a little bit back.
He made a nice money out the Icelandic sale, was it? I think he did, Mr. Brown. Yep. Troj, yeah, we all look forward to the game until it kicks off, mate. Yeah. Church. Oh, the church. The church is still there, mate. The Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that would have been affected what they wanted to do.
Where the players' car park was and the bowling.
Final thing for me to say is, mate, Arteta, very, very annoying manager on the touchline as ever last night. Very, very annoying. And I was saying to my son, if Duncan Ferguson was there on the other side, he would have gripped him up. And the other thing, Eddie Howe's looks put on a few pounds, isn't he? Whoa, Eddie Howe. Nice pies in Newcastle. They had a few. But anyway, thank you for your time, gentlemen. And we will be doing a show straight after the kickoff tonight. I'll put the links to you individually and on the group. So hopefully catch up with you guys later on. So thank you for joining, everyone.
See you later on, mate.
Thank you. Take care, mate. Take care. Enjoy the sun, Ginge. See you later.